Let me tell you a story. It's 2017, and I'm getting ready to see quite possibly in this moment my most anticipated film of all time, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I'm a huge fan of how JJ started things off with The Force Awakens. To be honest, I saw it 7 times in theaters, and the internet and fan bases have been buzzing with theories. The most important ones, obviously, having to do with none other than Luke Skywalker.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
One of my childhood heroes. I grew up with A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Star Wars was and is a massive part of my life. I also got to experience the arrival of The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith in theaters. And up until this point, a huge part of my life has been dedicated around the emotion that these films have given me. And then I started to grow up. And I learned about the fact that not everyone loved the prequels.
A surprise, to be sure.
And after about 1,000 rewatches, I started to watch the movies with a million different voices in my head about story structure and acting performances. I started to wonder, am I supposed to be like that? Is that what a fan really is? And here I am in this moment, ready to watch The Last Jedi, but my mind is different now than it was when I was a child. When I first saw these movies, and things have changed. Now I'm thinking, this better be what I want it to be. And if what I think is going to happen happens, this movie's going to be incredible. And then I went in. And right around the point that Luke Skywalker threw that lightsaber over his shoulder, you know the one. Chaos ensued. Well, that's unexpected, I thought. Wait, he can't do that. And suddenly Leia is flying through the air, and wait, that's not what's supposed to happen. And spoiler alert, Snoke is cut in half? Wait, no. Wait, what about the theories? And Rey is no one? What? Luke, wait.
No.
There's something I must learn to live with.
Joyce?
I left the theater in a daze. The group of people I was with was angry. They hated it. I was on the edge. I wasn't sure what I had just watched. It completely surprised me, and I didn't know where to put my emotion. Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars. I looked online and people were mad too. People were crying. They still are, by the way. And the further I got away from the actual film, the angrier I became, and the more I built it up in my head as this atrocious, horrible thing that ruined my childhood. Ruined Star Wars. A year went by and I was tired. The online trolling and opinions were getting repetitive. That movie is so trash. What do you mean? TLJ is horrible. And I started to think to myself, well, I've only ever really seen it the one time. And now that I know what happens, how bad can it really be? Was the movie really that bad, or was it me? I noticed that the making of The Last Jedi was on Disney+, and annually I like to watch the making of the original Star Wars trilogy and also Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, along with the movies because I've always just found how they can make these epic films so fascinating. And so I turned it on one day, and what I found was the complete opposite of what I was expecting. Wait a minute, Rian Johnson is a massive Star Wars fan. Hey, wow, those Mark Hamill interview clips that I was watching were taken way out of context. And wow, look at how much work, time, and effort went into this thing. It's actually kind of beautiful. And then I had a thought. Maybe I should watch The Last Jedi again.
Jones Vibes.
So, as you'd assume, this is me now. And things have changed quite a bit. The Last Jedi is now one of my favorite Star Wars films, and I personally feel like the sequel trilogy altogether is pretty damn fantastic. And now that you have a little bit of background on me, let's talk about why I think that. But before I do want to make sure that you understand that this is just what I think, and I'm not trying to change what you think, and if you disagree with my opinion, I don't really care. Okay, The Force Awakens. Now, my love for this film was instantaneous. The complaints that I've heard are that it's just a remake of A New Hope. I'd argue that besides Starkiller Base, there are mainly just a few basic structural and story details that are similar, but it very much stands on its own. And I think to reintroduce Star Wars after a 10-year gap, this was probably the right call. Also, if you're going to let similarities to A New Hope stop you from enjoying a new Star Wars, you may be standing in your own way there. JJ did a great job easing us back into this galaxy far, far away with characters that we can instantly connect to. The young girl looking up to the stars, dreaming of a better life. the stormtrooper that breaks free from the nightmare that he's been living in, the rugged and confident pilot who you're immediately rooting for, followed quickly by the original rugged icon, Han Solo. And Harrison Ford really is the reason why this movie works so well. The humor and infectious charisma that he brings is valuable. It all works, especially Kylo Ren. Skywalker blood, the banished son, the fall from grace, it's beautiful. Looking into his father's eyes and murdering him. Just bold. And I understand if Han Solo is your favorite legacy character and you're mad that they killed him off, but from a storytelling perspective, this was a great direction to go, and it leaves our characters in the perfect place for the second film. Let's see where we are. Rey has just realized that she has Force powers and has come to find Luke Skywalker and hopefully convince him to join the fight and also to train her. Finn has been a part of something that he's just been wanting to get away from, but he cares for Rey, and so far narratively, that's kinda it. Poe, well, we still just don't really know Poe. So far he's kind of just a cliche badass pilot. It would be great if in the next movie they took more time with him. Hint hint. And then we have Kylo Ren, who just killed his father and took the final step towards the dark side. Or so he thinks. This is where we are, and these are the pieces you would have to write a second film. So, and this is it. The oh-so-divisive Episode 8. Like I said, I didn't like this movie when I first saw it because it wasn't what I was expecting. My blinders were on, but then one day I watched it again, and instead of criticizing it for what it wasn't, I tried to look at it for what it is. And this movie is amazing. And my biggest critiques of it have turned into some of my favorite moments. Luke being a hermit after looking into his nephew's mind and then turning to impulse for a sliver of a moment makes sense for his character to me. And is something that he's done in the past with his family. In Return of the Jedi, he tosses his lightsaber away and decides against acting on that evil impulse the Emperor is trying to pry out of him. And in this moment, he has a very similar experience. It's tough. I mean, I'd imagine if he saw the future, he saw that this kid would kill Han Solo, or at least he would sense how evil he would be. What can you do? It's decisions like this that follow the Skywalkers wherever they go. And in this moment, evil comes to the surface, and Kylo Ren is truly born. That's awesome. People can rip on this movie all they want, it doesn't really seem to faze me anymore. Yes, it's long, but it makes a point to spend the proper time with each character, and their plot lines only really moved forward from where JJ left off. Ryan and JJ had many conversations, contrary to what the headlines and out-of-context quotes will have you believe. Yes, Disney and Kathleen Kennedy have admitted that things were rushed, and if they had the chance to do it again, they would probably do it differently. But there was a very large team working very hard to bring this thing to life. And when I watch these films back, I feel like they made something kinda special. Poe gets his moments in this movie and has a true arc throughout the film, going from reckless and headstrong to trustworthy and on his way to becoming the resistance leader he's always wanted to be. People always say Finn was trying to leave for his own sake, but he clearly states in the film that he's doing it to save Rey. He thinks that the Resistance is doomed, just like in Force Awakens, and thinks it's the smartest decision to get as far away with the beacon so that she follows him there. But he's still running. And Rose's character is used as a clever way to guide him and show him what fighting for something really looks like. And by the end, he's ready to give his life for the Resistance. Talk about a character arc. But then there's Rey and Kylo. And this is where the movie just gets beautiful. We have this romantic and strange tension that connects them. It binds them. After Force Awakens, they are eternally connected whether they like it or not. Rey is looking for her parents, but instead finds Ben. And Ben uses this opportunity to try and convince Rey that she is no one, while also projecting the inner lonely void within himself. He acts tough, but he is fractured and scared and needs her even more than she needs him. The breaking of his helmet shows this. He thought that killing his father would solve all his problems, but it hasn't. Maybe by killing Snoke and becoming Supreme Leader. It's this quest for more power that truly is the path of the dark side, never satisfied. Rey, on the other hand, grows, and I think in the end realizes that she has the power to choose and create her own destiny. This way, in the future, if she finds out who her real parents are, maybe it won't define her? Hint hint. And look, Leia, very much like the end of Force Awakens, just seems tired. She has fought so hard and has now fully accepted that her son is gone. Han is gone, and her brother, well, let's get back to Luke. I mean, what were you expecting out of this movie? I understand if the direction that they took his character in is not what you wanted, but given the context, it makes sense. And what does he do? He force projects across the galaxy and takes on the entire First Order, lighting the spark, adding to his legacy and growing in the Force. Then he moves on to be with Ben and Yoda and his father. What more do you want? I mean, seriously, I don't know what these people want. Gosh, I could talk about this all day, but here are just some more highlights. This is the best looking Star Wars film that we have. I mean, look at that. Technology has changed, and good lord, some of the shots in these movies are beautiful. Yoda makes a return and is voiced and puppeteered by the GOAT and OG Frank Oz. It's also almost a direct copy of the puppet from Empire, so I'll be right back. I'm crying. Admiral Holdahl sacrifices herself and then shoots through a ship at light speed. Wow. And then the entire throne room scene is phenomenal, and the planet Crate is just a win, and John Williams just rages, bro. But I'm sorry, Luke milked an alien and Canto Bight wasn't what you wanted. I've been dealing with this my entire life. You can deal with that. And once again, our characters are left in the perfect place for a third story, so where do we go from here? And yeah. Look, I'm not here to say that this movie is perfect. At all. But the more I've rewatched it, I'd say the first about 20 minutes of this film are really the worst of it. Since this trilogy wasn't fully mapped out, which at least structurally it should have been, but moving on, Palpatine clearly wasn't in the initial planning, and I think this is where people get so mad. And look, yeah, it is frustrating, but I'm the type of person that I just like to find the good in things, and the more that I've watched The Rise of Skywalker, I have found so much beauty in it. But yeah, there is a lot of cheesy and heavy exposition in the first 20 minutes of this film that I think are an attempt to catch the audience up to speed, but I guess it did result in one of the better memes out of all of Star Wars. And if you are simply not able to look past the reveal of Palpatine, that is okay. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. Just personally, Palpatine has been a key focus in both of the past trilogies, and so it only makes sense that he is the end-all here. And we're introduced back to our characters who are now prepping for all-out war. Rey is continuing her training, and her and Leia have grown closer. They even repaired Luke's lightsaber together. Finn and Poe are out scanning the galaxy for anything that might help them stop the First Order. And Kylo Ren is now Supreme Leader, right where we left off. And from the moment that our three young main characters come together and leave Agent Kloss on the Falcon, this thing starts to really find its footing. But pause. Everyone is aware that we lost the late great Carrie Fisher unexpectedly during the writing of this film. So that brings up the question, what would you do? Obviously honor her memory, and so in this case they decided to use unreleased Force Awakens outtakes and create some scenes of dialogue, and these scenes feel strange, but we all know why. And whether you think it was forced, no pun, or whatever your opinion, it is what it is. All we can do is respect their decision to try. But yeah, that probably had a bit to do with some of the writing problems. She was supposed to be a heavy focus in this film. Han in 7, Luke in 8, Leia in 9. And once again, I'm not here to tell you that this film is phenomenal. It's not. The stuff about the Sith Wayfinder and Ochi Bastoon and the dagger and Rey's healing powers and hey, that's Lando and that's his daughter and oh yeah, Rey is also Palpatine's granddaughter. Like, that is a lot to try and shove into this. And at the end of the day, it could have been a lot simpler. But it wasn't. Really, all I was looking for out of this film was Rey versus Kylo, and we got that and more. I'm fully willing to look past all of that stuff because of moments like this. And like this. Their final fight was incredible. The sweeping sounds and echoes of metal on water reflecting the creaks and cracks within Kylo Ren and Rey. They are both broken. They are a dyad in the Force. They are connected, and Ben's turn is one of the most beautiful things to ever happen in Star Wars. We get this mirrored scene of father and son and the acknowledgement that it is okay, even though it's not really okay. He knows that he has to give himself fully now to those he loves, to pay for what he's done. And look at the actors that we're working with here. Adam Driver is absolutely incredible. John Boyega is incredible. Daisy Ridley is incredible. And I'll sit through this movie again and again and again just to watch them. And the entire payoff works for me. Unfortunately, not for a lot of other people, and that's too bad. I think a lot of it has to do with this built-up narrative of drama behind the scenes. And it's created a bit of a hive mind within the fandom, and it's such a sad and weird thing to see. If you actually believe that the behind-the-scenes planning and effort for these films was a high school back-and-forth drama and JJ set out to retcon all of Rian Johnson's twists and turns, I'm sorry, but you've been misguided. Misguided by people that don't understand how this all works. You have to understand that everything is not as dramatic as a catchy clip or headline makes it, and these movies were truly trying to work together. Luke catches the lightsaber and says,
Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
And adds a nice cherry on top to his arc, showing that he is not the shell that he had become on Act 2, and wants to show that to Rey. Remember, this is the first time she has seen him since leaving him in the rain. And Rey having some sort of family connection only does make sense. She understands that she is no one. It doesn't matter who you are. So when she learns this, she has already grown enough in her mind that she's able to quickly overcome it. It also explains how she is so incredibly powerful. In the end, Palpatine is all of the Sith, and she is all of the Jedi. That's poetic, man. And then Ben swoops in and gives his life for Rey. More poetry. It's beautiful to me, and regardless of whether I'm on board with every little creative decision, I'm satisfied with where the story went and ended up. Rey chooses Skywalker as her surname because that's where she feels that she belongs. I know you might not agree with it, I know you might hate it, but you can't deny that from a writing standpoint, it makes sense. There are a lot of moments, especially in The Rise of Skywalker, where you're either into it or not. But that's how Star Wars has always been. The only truly perfect film is Empire Strikes Back, to me. But as for every other movie, there are problems. Lots of them. But from a young age, I learned to just go with it because I love Star Wars. And this is what Star Wars is. We're now 10 years out from the sale from Lucas to Disney, and I believe that things are only going to get better from here. Andor is proof of that. And as for the sequel trilogy, I want to give some of you some homework. Maybe give these movies another chance, but make sure that you remember to watch it from your own perspective, because maybe, like me, the first time around, your perspective may have already been made up for you. Since the trilogy's conclusion, I have seen way too many people speak as if they're speaking for the majority, that it is trash, or that it is this, or it is that. Film is subjective. Your badge as a fan is no different than mine. We just have different opinions. It is not an objective truth that the sequels are bad films. They are actually very, very well-made movies that had a lot of stellar performances and a lot of heart. It's okay to like these movies, and it's okay to say that out loud. It's also okay to not like these movies. We all just need to learn that it's not okay to ridicule and rip apart people over their film opinions, because movie magic is just that. Magic. And we get to experience these things for ourselves and form our own opinions. It's just like music. The same song can mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. And so some of you might hate the sequel trilogy, and that's fine. But as for me, I think it's amazing. But anyway, I hope you got something out of this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Please be courteous and respect one another. And this is Jones Vibes saying, may the Force be with you.